warning the U.S. that we will need to back our NATO allies from a potential attack from Putin. South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace here to weigh in. Congresswoman, thanks for being here. How close is that scenario to happening?
Well, if that scenario were to happen, I mean, that's World War III. An attack on one is an attack on all, and would invoke Article 5 and would be the worst case scenario in this situation. And as we watch the events unfold, it's very scary what we see over there. When Putin gave his remarks a few days ago, he said it was a limited military operation. We're not seeing that at all. And every morning, Americans wake up and seeing the destruction that's happening in the Ukraine. I'm glad to see that there are protests around the world in support of the people of Ukraine and President Zelensky, who has shown so much leadership in the last few days. Being out on the streets this morning of Kiev, it's just remarkable to see the stark difference between his leadership and Putin, who's hiding somewhere in Moscow, I'm sure.
This Zelensky guy's got guts, without a doubt. Your colleague, Representative Turner, issued this statement, quote, "This is a time where we need to stand up, show strength, make certain that we put Putin back in his box and help stop this aggressiveness." But Congresswoman, I'm just looking at the response by the Biden administration so far. Shouldn't we have provided way more in lethal aid to the Ukrainians weeks, months, if not years ago, and going forward?
Right. We were told by President Biden and his administration that the consequences would be swift and clear, and it's been anything but. And it's not as if Putin had this buildup along the Ukraine border with 100,000 plus troops that it happened overnight. And then this has been going on for 9 months, upwards of 9 months. We knew that this was coming, or potential. And we just sort of sat on the sidelines, and now everyone is scrambling. And I was encouraged to hear the Biden administration say they're looking at personal sanctions against Putin. We should hit him where it hurts, but also we should hit his inner circle, continue to hit the Russian oligarchs. We should be asking OPEC to increase oil production. I don't want to fill my car with 1 gallon of Russian gas. I don't think any American does. And we need to look at Russia's oil economy. Oil funds Putin's wars and these sorts of battles and his munitions. And we need to look at, I want to hear in Biden's speech next week in the State of the Union that we're going to see Congress pass some sort of bill that will help support defense equipment going to the region and to Ukraine. I think there are a lot of options on the table that we could have already explored or done over the last several days, weeks, and months, and been much more effective than we are today in putting our NATO allies in grave danger.
That's such a great point, because I know so many of us have been talking over the last couple of days. What can we do to help the effort? And by the same token, what can we do not to help the Russians in this? Let's get back to the sanction. We haven't yet really come down full-throatedly on Vladimir Putin himself. We also haven't forced him out of the SWIFT banking system. Does that make any sense to you?
Absolutely. I mean, we have to hit Putin where it hurts, which is his wallet. He's supposedly one of the richest leaders in the world. We have to continue to, I think, hit the oil industry and look at other industries like the airline industry, make this really hurt the Russian oligarchs. But the SWIFT banking system, if we were to ban Russia from that, that's the equivalent of about 5% of Russia's GDP. If there were to be a moratorium on exports of oil to our European allies, that's worth about $50 billion a year to Russia. And you look at the U.S. oil imports, we're importing upwards of 600,000 barrels a day. 1 out of every 12 barrels in the U.S. comes from Russia. I mean, there are a lot of options on the table that could hurt them economically, which is what we should be doing, or should have, rather, been doing months ago leading up to this. This would have prevented that, but that's not where we are today.
Right.
We have to deal with where we are today, and it's a disaster.